What do you own, but your friends use it more than you? Answers on Seesaw. And I will give you the answer tomorrow. So, we're going to be carrying on writing our biography today. Now, before we get started, I just need to make an apology. As normal, I have made a mistake. Last lesson in the introduction, it said that Mary Anning was born in 1847. As some of you have pointed out, and thank you for this, because otherwise I would have carried on not realising, that was the year she died. She was actually born in 1799. So if you go back to your introductions and cross out 1847 and put 1799, that would be great. Because otherwise, she's born the year she died, and that's going to be a bit of a problem. Probably. So if you get that sorted, that'd be great. Thank you. And we'll just pretend it never happened, like all the other mistakes that I definitely haven't made. Okay. Now, those of you that submitted your introductions on Seesaw by the end of the day yesterday, will have had them marked in some way by Mrs. Vary or I and responded to with some feedback. But I'd just like you to have a look through your introduction now and check it for spelling mistakes, and particularly capital letters. So make sure that Mary and Anning both have a capital letter. If you've put Lyme Regis in there, make sure Lyme and Regis have a capital letter. Another common mistake is people were saying that Mary Anning was a famous paleontology. It should be Mary Anning was a famous paleontologist. Okay, paleontology is what she does, but someone that works in paleontology is called a paleontologist. So you need to have it as that. Okay, so today we're going to write the next 2 parts of our biography, so 2 paragraphs today. What we're going to do is we're going to do, like I did yesterday, I'm going to sort of model it to you, and then I'm going to ask you to pause the video and write your first paragraph, and then come back to me. I'll do the next bit, and then you'll write your next bit. So the best way to do this is you're going to watch like half of it, then go and write, come back, write the other half, and then we'll be done. Okay? So I'm going to put a link on the website to help us. And it's this link here, which I'm just going to go to now, because on this link is some great videos to help you with some information. It also tells you all about the life of Mary Anning, BBC Bite Size. So let me just copy this link onto Google. They say this will be on the website for you. But we've got here a page all about Mary Anning. And there you go, she was born in 1799, as I clearly said from the beginning. It tells you where she lives, etc. It tells you about her finding her curiosities, which we know from the Stone Girl, Bone Girl book. We found out these were later fossils. Now, if you prefer watching a video, there's a nice little video here, which I'm just going to show you quickly now. I'm going to show you the first part of it anyway, and then you can watch the rest of it if you want to. So I'm hoping this will show nice and clearly for you.
Fossils are the imprinted remains of ancient creatures, forgotten about by the world, hidden in rocks under our feet. My name is Mary Anning, and just as fossils are forgotten for many years, so too was I. As a child, I walked the seafront with my father and brother to find what we then called curiosities. My father taught us how to patiently and carefully free these strange things from the rock. We were very poor, so we sold what we found to people on the beach. One customer, Elizabeth Philpott, knew so much more about...
I'm not going to watch the whole thing with you. You can go and watch it yourself. So if you want to, go and pause the video now and go and watch that video on the website. Okay, and then come back to me. Interestingly, in the video, it mentions her brother, and we don't really get any mention of the brother in the book. So this is someone else we need to include in our biography. When you've had a look at the video, the website's also really nice because it has a sort of a step-by-step through of her life, so you can have a look through this, and it talks to you all about the different bits, and it shows you some really nice images of the fossils. And then we have a mini biography where it tells you about different parts of her life. So when we come to fossil hunting, which we're going to write about today, this section here will be really useful for us. Okay, so if you haven't already, go and pause the video, have a look at this website now, have a little explore through it, and then come back to me. Okay, and you're back, hopefully. So, we are here. So the first section we're going to write about today is all about the early life of Mary Anning. Okay, and I'm going to show you how I would go through the writing process of this. Okay, now unlike yesterday, there's not a model for me to choose between. I'm just going to come up with one on my own. Okay, it's going to be a paragraph about 3 or 4 sentences long. Now I've got here a list of what you need to include. So where and when she was born, that's fine. We did that in our introduction, so we don't need to worry about that. What was her family like? So we're going to need to find out about that. Was she rich or poor? Well, they mentioned that in the video. What was her childhood like? And then we're going to describe the lightning strike. Now, the lightning strike was the bit she survived very luckily. Okay, and that's something we're going to talk about in a minute. So this is our next section. So, early life. Okay, so I'm going to have a look at my success criteria, which is here. Where and when she was born. Done that already, don't need to worry. So I'm going to start by talking about her family. Mary was born into a relatively poor family, made up of, well, now I need to find out who's in her family. So we're going to go back onto that website and we're going to see what it says here. So, story of Mary Anning. Let's see if it's at the beginning here. So, Mary Anning lived on what's known as Jurassic Coast. Nothing there. Okay, so fossil hunting. Mary's parents were Richard Anning and Mary Moore. Okay, so that's good. So, I'm going to go back to my story, my biography. Mary Anning was born into a relatively poor family. Made up and was the child of Richard Anning and Mary Moore. Richard Anning, no, I clicked the wrong one. Richard Anning and Mary Moore. Notice I've used capital letters for those. Okay, Mary was born into a relatively poor family and was the child of Richard Anning and Mary Moore. So, first sentence, I've got she's born, poor family, and this is whose child she was. Okay, so the next bit it says to write about is what was her family like? Was she rich or poor? And I need to find out if she's got any brothers or sisters. So we're going to have a look and see if there are any clues on that. Okay, so there's nothing on here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have a little Google. So I'm going to type in Mary Anning biography, because that's what we're writing. So Mary Anning biography. And then we're going to see what comes up. So we can use Wikipedia, that's absolutely fine. Famous scientists, this seems maybe a little bit more reliable than Wikipedia. So she's born in 1799, a carpenter. Their couple had 10 children. Here you go. So the couple had 10 children, of whom only 2 survived childhood. Mary and her older brother Joseph. So even though there were 10 children, only 2 of them survived childhood. So I'm going to put something like that into my biography. So, Mary was one of 10 siblings. However, only 2 of them, now I'm going to use some parenthesis here to give me some extra information. Herself and her brother survived beyond childhood. Childhood. Okay. Nice, simple sentence. So, was she rich or poor? What was her childhood like? Pardon me. Okay, so let's have a little look. So, I'm going back to my biography here, and this is what you're going to be doing. Just find a website, find some information, move it across into your biography. Her mother was Mary Moore, the couple had 10 children. Mary's own survival was said to parents by a miracle. Now, this is all about the lightning, so we're going to move on to that in a minute. So, I think that's all I need for that bit for now. Was she rich or poor? Well, we know she's quite poor because they had to sell the fossils. But I don't really want to talk about that yet. So I'm now going to move in to talk about the lightning strike. I need to get some information on that. So Mary's own survival was said by her parents to be a miracle. At 15 months old, Mary was being cared for by one of her parents' friends at a horse show. A sudden rainstorm made people run for shelter. Mary, her babysitter, and 2 children took shelter under an elm tree. A lightning strike killed them all except Mary. Before the lightning strike, Mary had been a sickly child. After the strike, she enjoyed robust, which means very good health. So that's really interesting, and that's something I'm definitely going to look to include. But I'm not just going to copy and paste it, because that would be what we call plagiarism, which is where you copy something someone else has said, and you're not allowed to do that. You can't do it. So we have to write it in our own words. So, 15 months old. Okay, new paragraph, so we'll talk about something else now. So, at 15 months old, comma, because it's a fronted adverbial, at 15 months old, Mary experienced? Yeah, I'm going to put that for now and see if I like it. Mary experienced an event that she was lucky to have survived. 15 months old, Mary experienced an event. Yeah, when you're writing yours, you can maybe change that, because I'm not sure I'm overly happy with it. She was lucky to have survived. During a horse show. No, I don't know if I need to put that. Is it really important? Probably not. During a rainstorm, Mary, her babysitter, and 2 other children took shelter underneath a large tree. When lightning struck, Mary was the only survivor. What is perhaps even more strange is that Mary went from being a sickly child to a very healthy one. At 15 months old, Mary experienced an event that she was lucky to have survived. During a rainstorm, Mary, her babysitter, and 2 other children took shelter underneath a large tree. When lightning struck, Mary was the only survivor. What is perhaps even more strange is that Mary went from being a sickly child to a very healthy one. That's okay. I'm not overly happy with it, and I would look at it and change it, but I'm okay with that for now. So what I'd like you to do, please, is to pause the video and go and write your next paragraph. Remember, you need to include where and when she was born. We've done that. What was her family like? Talk about the brothers and sisters. Talk about the mum and dad. Put the names in there. Was she rich or poor? What was her childhood like? Describe the lightning strike. Now, I haven't really talked about her childhood yet. I'm probably going to come on to that in a minute, but definitely describe the lightning strike, because that happens before her childhood. So I think that probably needs to come first. So pause the video now, go and write that paragraph, and then come back to me. Okay, and you're back with me. So we're going to carry on looking at her childhood. So we're just going to put a little paragraph in here. We're still on the early life section, but I think we need something a little bit more. So just going to have a little skim and scan. As Mary grew up, her parents credited the lightning strike with her high intelligence, boundless energy, and gritty determination. So she was taught to read and write at Sunday school, and she spent her childhood going with her father to search for fossils. That's all I really need to put. I don't need to know about what her favourite meal was or anything like that, but it really doesn't matter. Not for this biography anyway. So I'm just going to put a little paragraph here. And I'm going to start with Mary's childhood. Mary's childhood was very typical of a child from the time period. Mary's childhood was very typical childhood experience. Mary's childhood experience was very typical of a child from the time period. Yeah, that's fine. Okay. She was considered. See, you'll notice I do pause a lot and hesitate when I'm writing, and that's to show you that, like, a paragraph that's anywhere near good doesn't just fall out of your head. You have to put some time and some effort into it. She was considered to be very intelligent, with a real sense of determination to succeed. Her parents attributed, that means credited or said it was because, her parents had attributed this to the lightning strike. She was taught to read and write while attending Sunday school, and would spend much of the rest of her time helping her father search the beaches for curiosities, because she didn't know they were fossils at the time. There we go. So, I need a paragraph now about her childhood, please. Talking about her intelligence, talking about where she learned to read and write, etc. And you're just going to mention the curiosities, but we're not talking about fossils just yet. Okay? Go and have a go at that for me, please. Okay. So now we're looking at a paragraph about fossils. And we're not going to talk about the big discovery yet. That's coming later. We're just talking about her early experiences with fossils for now. So, what you need to include: why did Mary get involved with fossils? How did she collect fossils? What did she do with fossils that she collected? So, this paragraph, I'm just going to start you off, and then I want you to have a go at writing it, okay? Because I've modelled the first one to you, and I've given you some guidance on that. So for this one, I just want you to have a go at it. Now, why did Mary get involved in fossils? So I've already ended this by talking about curiosities. So I'm going to call this the fossils section. So, curiosities was the word Mary and her father gave to what would later be known as fossils. Originally, her hunt for fossils was driven by a need to make money. The curiosities could be taken from the rocks and sold in Lyme Regis to wealthy travellers. Whilst no one knew, whilst few knew what they really were, their look alone fetched a good price. Yeah, that's okay. And then I'm going to talk about, so I'm going to give you some guidance, then I'm going to talk about the Philpott sisters. And if you can't remember that, you need to go and have a look at watch the video, which should have already spoken about it. Talk about the Philpott sisters. I'm going to then talk about her research into fossils, and I'm briefly going to hint at her famous discovery. So what I'd like to do now is to pause the video and go have a go at writing this paragraph, please. I've started it off for you. You're going to write it in your own words and then carry it on. Remember, you can use bits of mine, but you can't take it all. You can only use bits of it to help you. Okay, and you're back with me. So, if you could please make sure your 2 paragraphs, well, probably a bit more than 2 paragraphs from today, are uploaded onto Seesaw. Again, we will try and respond to them and give you some feedback, ready for tomorrow when we're going to write the next part of the biography. We've got about 2 more days of biography writing, I think. We'll probably be done by Thursday, I should think, this week, which is good because then science is on Friday. Okay. For now, thank you very much for watching. Speak to you soon. Bye.